The weekend trip was supposed to be a break from the chaos of everyday life. Four friends, seeking peace in nature, set out to explore the wilderness. But the forest had a secret, one that would trap them in its embrace forever. When they arrived, the forest greeted them with the chirping of birds and the rustling of leaves. Their laughter echoed through the trees as they set up camp. Yet, as the evening drew near, the warmth of the day gave way to something colder. An old ranger approached them, his weathered face grave. He warned them to stick to the main trail, but the warning fell on deaf ears. They laughed it off, dismissing it as superstition. The night was calm, almost too calm, with the only sound being the crackling of their campfire and the occasional gust of wind. The next day, after hiking along the main trail, something caught their eye. An overgrown, unmarked path hidden just off the main trail. Curiosity pushed them to follow it, despite the growing unease in the air. The further they went, the quieter the forest became, until all sounds of wildlife seemed to vanish. The trees around them grew denser, their twisted branches blocking out the light. What began as an innocent diversion turned into an eerie journey. And then they found it, an abandoned campsite, overrun with decay. Torn fabric flapped in the wind, and rusted tools lay scattered across the ground. On one of the trees, a word was carved in deep, jagged letters: "Stay away." But they didn't listen. Instead, they found a journal, its pages stained and torn. The words scrawled inside spoke of a trail that changes, of whispers in the night, of people who ventured too far and never came back. The last entry was chilling. "If you see the tree, run." As night fell, the forest became alive in a way it hadn't been before. Strange noises drifted through the trees, snapping twigs, low murmurs, and footsteps that circled their camp, though they couldn't see anyone. They tried to sleep, but the uneasy feeling lingered, growing stronger with every passing minute. The wind whispered through the leaves, as though calling them. And then, without warning, one of them vanished, disappearing into the night without a trace. The remaining friends called out in panic, but the only reply was silence. The forest seemed to have swallowed her whole, as if she had never been there at all. And then in the distance, a faint hollow voice echoed. Fear gripped them now, a primal terror that made them run through the woods, trying to find the main trail again. But no matter which way they turned, the trees seemed to close in, the path twisting into impossible loops. The forest wasn't just changing, it was alive, and it didn't want them to leave. One by one, they were swallowed by the woods. One friend bolted off into the darkness, his cries echoing back in terror. But they were too late to stop him. The forest had taken him as well, and then they stumbled into a clearing. The air grew colder, and the light from their flashlights flickered. Before them stood a massive, gnarled tree, its roots twisting like snakes across the ground. The air around the tree hummed, as if the earth itself was breathing. Something in the shadows moved. The wind carried whispers, pleas, promises, warnings. They couldn't tell what it was, but the fear was overwhelming. Roots shot out from the ground, wrapping around one of them, pulling them into the earth itself. In the end, only one remained. The forest released him at dawn, but it wasn't the same. His mind was fractured, his eyes haunted by the horrors he had witnessed. When the rangers found him near the trailhead, they asked where the others were, but he couldn't speak. He could only look back at the forest, feeling the pull of the darkness that still lingered within him. As the rangers turned to leave, they glanced at the trees. The whispers were still there, carried on the wind. Stay with us. Forever.